the European Central Bank. He is chairman of the ECB Audit Committee and also governor of the International Monetary Fund for Finland. Please welcome Governor Erkki Liikanen. Welcome.
There are so many. There are so many experts on SMEs here that I hesitate to say anything about that. Perhaps I in the end say something about the financing issues. I actually worked in that field for 5 years while I was commissioner. SMEs and entrepreneurship belonged to my portfolio as well as innovation. And Professor Maasi organized 10 some meetings here. And in Europe, the real challenge for us is now the unemployment, especially in the southern European countries, it is still rising. One of the reasons is that very much of the productive capacity has been concentrated in the construction sector.
When it was about banks and SMEs, we have been discussing about knowledge-intensive companies that have a greater risk than normal SMEs have. Say 1 of 10 makes it or 2 out of 10 makes it. So are they compatible with modern day banking that is not so or is more risk averse than say 10 years ago? Or should we need something else to finance these knowledge-intensive fast growth companies?
Certainly, I mean, you need equity, you need partners who take risks. So for that reason, venture capital, seed investors, business agents, whoever, who have more patience and good equity can take the risk that the company goes fine, they share the profits. If they don't go fine, they are really eager to share also the losses. That's critical. You can't only run companies without capital. And if you don't have your own capital, you need risk investors who are ready to put it. But still, the banking is something, it's absolutely necessary supplement. Because you're running activities, you need to be able to borrow in reasonable terms. Especially when you go to bigger investments, you need also bank activities there.
So is some organization doing something about the venture capital sector with same intensity as we do with banks?
That has been very much the issue in Finland, in Europe, and globally. And I know we have activities in that area, but that's not in my direct responsibility at the moment. There are people who want to interfere in businesses of the others often, and I try to refrain myself of doing that. But it's of course critical that you have both. On the one hand, you have public organizations which can do their part, and enough, let's say, also private sector existing which is able to fund that. There are investors who put money to funds, and then the fund can be used to invest in fast-growing SMEs. In Finland, situation is not so, let's say, growing so fast. It used to be around 2000 after this Nokia phenomenon. There were many SMEs we could financing globally. Many of them were sold to American companies. Last one actually now was Stonesoft, which survived through this whole crisis. It was now sold to the others. But there are still some areas where really there's been still positive movements, especially, of course, the games. I don't take any value adjustment, but it seems to be so that in that area there has been place for innovation which is close to ICT. It's separate software, but it's being close to ICT. And I know there are people here who know other areas very well, so I don't want to lecture people who know better than I do. This humble approach comes with age, you know.
First of all, when you ask what you think about putting together science and business like they do here.
I mean, absolutely great idea, because we are living in a country where anyhow the wage level is pretty high. If you want to compete, you must have more value added there. And of course, the greatest innovations are based on science and research. So it's very good idea to join these two forces together.
Okay, so it's worth the while. And the other question is the role of European innovation in the recovery of the Great Recession or financial crisis. And I know you answered this in your, but
I mean, of course it's critical, because the growth comes through better innovations, better ideas, better ways to organize production. to organize the way how the companies operate. And their innovation, there are low limits. It's only brain capacity is the limit, and that's not easy to be achieved. So it's critical, and whatever you can do in that area, it's also support and encouragement.
Capital, so that the owners know that they must carry the risks with their capital. Third issue is that also those who lend to banks, who sell bonds, or who buy the bonds of the banks, they must also share the risks. There must be this kind of bail-inable risks that they follow the development. And finally, what I've been doing is that we should also limit such possibility that banks who can have implicit government guarantee because they have deposits, that they go with this implicit government guarantee excessive risk taking. So in banking sector, we must be careful to contain the risks, because when banking system collapses, it creates enormous damage in society, and that we have learned in a hard way.